Hello, everyone. Welcome to Please Like What I Like. My name's Joseph Gladding, and with me, as always, is my brother Michael Gladding. Say hi, Mike.
Hello.
And today we're going to watch Michael's pick, Hiroshi Shimizu's 1936 classic, Mr. Thank You.
I like to think that I do not ask for much. You don't have to sit with me, look at me, we don't have to touch. You don't have to go for a ride on the back of my bike. Please like what I like. I'm a little embarrassed by my intro. All right, this is going to be dated by the time the episode comes out. But at the time of this recording, here's the stuff that seems to be popular coming out of Japan right now. Hayao Miyazaki is back with his most recent final film. He keeps retiring and coming back.
When I lived in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
the Dead Milkmen had a reunion show about once a week.
Yeah.
Dead Milkmen, final show ever. This Friday, next Friday, and the Friday.
Yeah, Miyazaki's pulling a Dead Milkman. As most recent, the Boy and the Heron is what it's called in English. I think it has a better title in Japanese, but they changed it for some reason. But that's getting a lot of attention. The viral success of the song Lowly God Requiem in collaboration with the streamer and artist Shigure Ui. Through that, Iosis is back. You know Iosis, Joe?
I do not know Iosis. Any relation to the Gallagher brothers?
No, they did Marissa Stole the Precious Thing and FOE. Anyway, they're a semi popular thing in weeb internet culture, I suppose. But yeah, they're back.
Hell yes.
There's also a new reboot of Godzilla coming out.
I saw that Godzilla -1. Is that
Yeah,
right?
something like that. I don't know if it's a prequel or if it's just a remake of the first one.
If it's Japan making it, it's probably going to be pretty great.
And there's also 2D Sonic and Mario games coming out. Basically, what I'm trying to do here is suggest that there's a recent vogue for reviving old Japanese entertainment. So it's a good time to pull out the cool classic Shimizu film, an early Japanese talkie from 1936, Mr. Thank You, written and directed by Shimizu. He didn't always write the movies he directed, but he did this time. It's the first movie of his that I had seen, so it's the one I have the most nostalgia for out of what I've seen from him.
So is that why you chose this one over the other ones, just because of the fact that it kind of introduced you to his work?
I just, now that I've seen a handful of his, the ones that I liked the most were this and Japanese Girls from the Harbor, or At the Harbor.
Those are my two favorite as well. I thought the two other ones that were available on Criterion were just as virtuosic in its directing and filmmaking, but I found them a little bit more
like the
they
stories
just kind of passed by, and when they were over, I didn't really think about it.
Yeah, like Ornamental Hairpin and the one about the masseurs or something. How do you say that?
The masseurs and a woman.
Yeah, those ones are a lot like lighter, more like Ornamental Hairpin's a pretty cutesy romance movie, and the masseurs is like a screwball comedy. So I think there's a little more meat on the story with Mr. Thank You and Japanese Girls at the Harbor,
which is weird to say for a movie that entirely takes place on a bus, 120-mile road. There is a lot of meat on this film.
Yeah, like we did tape recently. Well, recently in terms of episodes. So yeah, we've already kind of delved into how you can get a pretty thick, juicy story to delve into with very little actually going on screen. And that's kind of what's happening here too. And I ended up being glad that I picked this one rather than Japanese Girls at the Harbor, even though that one has a lot going for it too, I think. Check it out if you like silent movies and sort of like melodramatic stuff. But yeah, this one I noticed a lot more on rewatch that kind of went over my head. Like I was aware that it kind of has this clash of like it's presented like, you know, it's a light, fun bus ride, but all the while there's the mother and her daughter that keep crying in the back of the bus. And every town that they go through is full of struggling people during the Depression and victims of this era of Japanese empire expanding stuff that had kind of taken its toll on Japan itself and the people they invaded for like a long time by the time this had started. Like if you look at the date, it came out in 36. I think it's Shimizu's first talkie, and from an American perspective, we're used to thinking of that as like the lead up to World War II because we hadn't entered it yet. But if you had been living in Japan, your government would have been in constant war for the past since the mid 1800s, you know. So yeah, it's a lot different when talking from the East Asian perspective. And yeah, between that and the Depression, I think Shimizu was trying to not be shy about showing the toll that he thought this stuff was taking on his country. And I think that this movie's more political than I gave it credit for the first time I saw it. I was used to thinking of it as like a more emotional story. It's obvious that, you know, the daughter and mother are upset in the movie, but like there is this nagging sense of, you know, the depression and the, you know, stresses of the world at this time kind of eating in when people start talking about their lives on the bus, when they talk about how nobody can find a job and how when a baby is born now you offer condolences instead of congratulations, stuff like that.
Yeah, the woman in the black collar referred to babies as part of the bumper.
Yeah, they're the bumper crap. There's also that scene where they there's a lot of scenes where they stop and get out and talk to people. But the one where they talk to the woman in white, do you remember that?
The woman who helped build the road and is now going to go build the other road. Yeah.
Yeah, not knowing much, I only on this rewatch, I'm pretty sure that she is a Korean woman that is being brought over, basically forced to work while the men have been constricted and sent away. Editing Michael here, I was clearly trying to say conscripted. I should have just said drafted, because that's easier to pronounce. And that's why she's in that white dress, so the viewers at the time would have seen that as a traditional Korean outfit. But yeah, that definitely was something I didn't catch on first watch.
Yeah, I didn't even get that she was Korean on the most recent watch I had. I wouldn't have picked that up.
That's definitely
she had said something about buying a kimono and riding on the bus.
Yeah, she makes it clear she can't.
She just couldn't afford any finery, so she just put plainly.
Yeah, she makes it clear that her dad had died since the last time she talked to this bus driver. And there's a lot of concern for her in the bus driver's face, I think. Mm-hmm. I thought they were just having like a light conversation the first time I saw it, but he's definitely feeling for her in that conversation. And I think, like, I wasn't alive there at the time, of course, and this is so kind of assuming a lot, but it seems to me like if you're living in a society like that even putting in this much overtones of sympathy for the conquered in your movie in the 30s in Japan was a little ballsy, I think. He makes it a little like not overt, you know?
Yeah.
But like Mr. Thank You himself is definitely an archetypal like role model type figure in the story, and to show him having compassion for the conquered, I think at this time where they were probably supposed to be as gung-ho about the expansion as possible was it's kind of a brave gesture. But yeah, I never, like, it's the sort of thing that a Western audience probably would not catch, you know. They don't come out and say that she's not from there, you know.
Yeah, it's a definite subtlety.
Yeah, what'd you think overall, man?
I loved all of the Shimizu films on the Criterion. This one was probably my second favorite.
He's not as big in this area as like maybe Sean Baker recently, but I think he does have a talent for like not prettying up squalor, but also presenting it in a way that there's some how would I say this, some affection in it, you know?
Yeah, it's just like the beauty of the everyday.
Yeah,
There's no lipstick on that pig, but the pig's pretty beautiful anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, I could watch the bus go on its way all day. Like I could have
Mm.
watched a 3-hour movie about Mr. Thank You just driving up and down this road, being nice to people,
Yeah.
watching the Japanese countryside go by in beautiful black and white.
He had a talent for scenery, I think, between
Oh, for
this
sure.
and it's definitely also evident in the movie I keep mentioning, Japanese Girls at the Harbor, but also Children of the Beehive, which I watched getting ready for this, has a lot of great scenery. That's also kind of a road movie, but everybody's on foot and that.
I didn't watch that one. Is that one on any streaming service?
Uh, I watched it on YouTube, but
Gotcha.
it could definitely use a remaster if that's the only English version, because as often with YouTube uploads.
I think all of his work could use a modern digitizing pass.
Yeah.
It's probably a transfer from film for DVD. It looks like
Oh,
that's the era that film was digitally transferred.
right. Yeah.
Like it looks like they didn't really give it as clean of a pass as they normally would.
Yeah, because it wasn't going to go out in 4K at the time. They weren't thinking that way.
Yeah.
How about that ending? Let's go straight to the ending. I think this movie kind of, like, it's easy to assume what happens at the end based on what it seems like it's leading up to the whole time, but it doesn't give you the satisfaction of, like, Mr. Thank You on screen asking the girl in the back, like, coming to terms with her. You know, like it shows them flirting and stuff,
Yeah.
and it definitely shows him putting together what her situation is. But
Yeah, the movie does definitely yada yada yada
yeah,
over the engagement.
yeah. Like I could even understand. I'm pretty sure we're supposed to take that they're like going to get married and stuff, you know. But
Yeah.
you could even take that ending as just he took the money he was saving up for a bus and lent it to the family if you didn't think the romance was getting across, you know, because they don't tell you.
And that could even have been the case if we don't know
Yeah,
what happened.
which I think is a little weird for movies at this time, which I'm used to them being more like hitch over the head.
Well, I think especially in the 30s, there was kind of a tendency for movies to have a real quick denouement and just kind of end
Yeah,
immediately. And
yeah, the speed
epilogues seem
is
to be
definitely.
like a much more like modern kind of
Mm.
pacing for movies.
Yeah, the speed of it is definitely of the time, I think, but like
Yeah.
the subtlety of it, I think, was not what I at least not what I associate with the 30s.
Well, maybe it was just like the happy ending
Mm.
is more so the fact that she just doesn't have to be sold into prostitution, and the
Yeah,
specifics aren't as equal to the happy ending as she's no longer going to be sold.
it's neat, I think, how like you start off, you can kind of assume at the beginning that that's what's happening with her, but like they get more and more explicit, getting across what her predicament is over the course of the bus ride.
I think, like in the very beginning, she's talking to another old woman and saying, like,
Yeah,
oh, we're going to go to Tokyo. And she was like, oh, is she going to go work in a mansion? And then nobody answers. And I think
exactly.
everybody's pretty much at that point, like, oh, yeah, she's going to be sold.
Yeah, but like that's
She didn't say, like, no, she's going to go work in a paper
yeah, exactly.
company. She's just like, yeah, we don't really talk about what's going to
The
happen.
fact that they won't talk about it says everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like, you know, if I hadn't seen other older Japanese movies and stuff, the idea of someone in the 1930s being sold by their parents as a courtesan, as a prostitute, sounds like a old-fashioned thing to have to do even at that time. But, you know, it's a rough time.
Well, yeah, like the thing about right wing extremism is
Hmm.
it does tend to move the society backward.
Oh, yeah, especially when it comes to women.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if you like the sort of political overtones of Mr. Thank You, then you'd also enjoy Children of the Beehive, which came out right after World War II. But, you know, it's about war orphans. It's very like, look at what you did to the children of the country kind of movie without being super heavy-handed or depressing. Yeah, I ended up liking
Yeah,
that
I feel
one.
like Shimizu rides that time.
Yeah, some sort of techniques that I noticed across the movies I've seen with him. He likes to set the camera up on a hill and shoot things happening down below. He does that in a lot of his movies, which, we're like, this is long before drone photography and stuff, but helicopter shots were probably around by then, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, you can tell he's just up on a hillside. And yeah, he also does a lot of stuff like that's a holdover from the silent era, because he was probably the biggest chunk of his career was the late silent movie era. But there's a lot of spots even in his talkies where you're expected to read, I've noticed. I think both Japanese Girls at the Harbor and Children of the Beehive have parts where you're actually like reading somebody's diary.
Yeah.
And this one has that thing at the beginning where it has like a silent movie title card saying, and that's why they call him Mr. Thank You. Which seems like, I don't know, I guess I think it's odd that they're still kept that stuff around in the early talkies.
That one felt like an intro title card, though, because they don't have a title before the movie starts.
True.
That's why they call him Mr. Thank You.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the one at the end is almost like, and in the epilogue.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I think that in conjunction with the music almost gives it a real, merry melodies type.
Yeah, I think I have a suspicion about the music, because you keep hearing this jaunty fiddle tune. And they made a point out of one having a passenger on the bus coming back talking about how cool it is to go see talkies, and also the part where Mr. Thank You takes change from the ladies walking down the street and promises to come back with whatever record is popular at the time. I'll bet they were selling a tie-in record. I'll bet the stuff that you see with like anime openings in the 80s through to today was already kind of getting started in the early talkies in the 30s with like tie-in movie soundtracks being a big thing.
Yeah,
they were trying. I don't know. I think that's cute though. In this first movie with dialogue from Shimizu, you've got a character that's just a mouthpiece for explaining how cool talkie movies are.
Hell yeah. You gotta have somebody get the audience on board.
Yeah, it's like a synergy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat as an artifact. So is this your first experience with Michiko Kuwano, my favorite actress in this movie?
I don't know. I think so.
For those listening, she's the one that sits up front in the kimono and makes the guy in the mustache have a bad time the whole movie.
Her credit is Woman in Black Collar.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no one is named in this movie.
Yeah, it's makes it a little tricky to talk about, but you don't need it because it's the same. Like there's some people that just get on the bus and say a few things, and the rest of it is just the same passengers talking amongst each other, and you can just tell by who they're looking at, who they're talking to. But yeah, it's a neat detail that nobody's named in the movie. But yeah, between this and What Did the Lady Forget, I watched them pretty close to each other in time, and that kind of set me on a binge where I was looking for Michiko Kuwano movies. I guess let me give you the story on her real quick. In both this and that movie, she's a very sort of strong personality that is really something you don't come to expect from female characters in old Japanese movies. You know, she's got a pretty American personality, I think. Made her really stand out to me. I'm not coming at this from oh, she's so hot kind of perspective. It's more she stands out in both those movies as someone who does what she wants and expects other people to get out of the way. I like that.
She's got a strong magnetic person.
Yeah. Have you seen What Did the Lady Forget?
No, I haven't. Is that an older Ozu?
Yeah, I think it's from about the same time. It's not one of his best. We should probably do an Ozu. I think I said Uzo before, like the Greek liquor. Whoops. But yeah, we should probably do an Ozu movie at some point because we do keep bringing him up. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend, if you're listening and haven't seen any Ozu, I wouldn't say start with What Did the Lady Forget unless you're really hungry for more Kuwano. It's a funny movie and it's enjoyable, but it's not going to give you the side of Ozu that we tend to gush about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in both those movies, she's a very assertive person. So I've seen some other Michiko Kuwano movies she's in. Like, she is in other Shimizu movies, but I can't find copies of those. Like, she's in Eclipse. But I haven't seen that yet. But Hotaru no Hikari, which is actually the Japanese version of Old Lang Syne. In Japan, that's a graduation song rather than a New Year's song. So Kuwano is a teacher, and it's about a bunch of girls that she's the teacher for, and they're graduating. And it's a corny movie. It's let's see who the director was. Yasushi Sasaki. I think there's a more famous Sasaki too. No, this is him. Okay. He did a lot of samurai movies. But yeah, Hotaru no Hikari could have used more Kuwano in it. That is going to be, if you're in the same boat I was and you want more Michiko Kuwano, that's the pattern you're going to keep seeing is, aside from those two movies that we mentioned, she tends to have annoyingly small parts and stuff because she had a very short career. She died of an ectopic pregnancy when she was about 30 or 31. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, she died young, but and I think Mr. Thank You and What Did the Lady Forget are her only really big roles. She's also in Brothers and Sisters of the Toda Family. That's okay. That's a kind of a lesser Ozu, I think. And also, I saw Tree of Life, not Tree of Life, Tree of Love, which was a very popular movie at the time, but is mostly interesting as a historical artifact at this point. But she's kind of a friendly rival for the main couple of the movie. Like, she gets engaged to the love interest in that movie. And she's also, like, she's assertive in that one and in Hotaru no Hikari, but she doesn't have much to say in either, so it's a bit of a shame. But yeah,
smaller role.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be your main mana in the desert if you also really liked Michiko Kuwano in these movies. In this movie is like your other movie is basically What Did the Lady Forget, at least from what I've seen so far. Her daughter went on to be an actress too. She also went on to work with Ozu. She was in Equinox Flower and also Late Autumn. That's Michiko Kuwano. It's a shame. But
she was great in this.
Yeah, she's my favorite part of this movie, I think. Yeah, it's fun to watch her keep sniping at the guy with the mustache.
I looked up some more information on Benten Kozo.
Okay.
That play that they talk about, the Five Bandits and Benten Kozo. Benten Kozo is actually the name of the main character of the play, The Five Bandits, which is sometimes called 5 Men of the White Waves.
Okay.
But it's sometimes just referred to Benten Kozo. I was confused as, like, I didn't know what that little comment meant.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that either.
So I looked it up.
Is that the one with the where they talk about an actress that plays male characters, and then Mr. Thank You is like all the men talk like women in movies and stuff like that?
No, it's when they get stopped by the all-female kabuki troupe.
Oh, that, okay. Right.
Yeah, and I think that was because all the men are either at war.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they're saying all women.
Could be. Yeah, I think kabuki is usually the other way around, right? Playing all the roles.
Yeah, Kabuki League of Their Own, if you will.
Kabuki League of Their Own. Yeah. There's no crying in kabuki. Yeah, I also looked up some stuff that I didn't recognize, but mine didn't turn out being interesting. There's like one point where a bunch of guys are on the bus and they're just talking about, like, wasn't this the site where this guy comes from, or what, didn't this guy say that? And they're just talking about Japanese Buddhism, historical figures in Japanese Buddhism. Didn't end up being a real barn burner of a topic, but it's nice to find out what people are talking about. When the mom passes out the snacks she was given at the beginning, that it reminds me of, did you have to read Ben Franklin's autobiography in school?
Well, I was probably one of the worst students ever. I didn't do anything.
Okay. Yeah, there's a part in that when he first comes to the colonies, I think, or at least when he first arrives in Boston, I think, where all he really has to his name is some, I think, bread and beer, and he shares it with all the people on the boat, and then doesn't have anything because he gave all his stuff away.
He gave it all away.
Yeah. And he says something like, there's a tendency when you have very little to want to share it with others that goes away as you get more. Whether it's because of a desire to appear like you don't need help, or a desire to help those who are in the same boat as you. And I don't know, that's what I'm reminded of when the lady gives away the snacks that she was given at the beginning.
Definitely, when you have very little, it's like fresh in your mind how nice it is to receive something. So you're more likely to want to give that feeling to other people.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas if you don't really need anything and someone gives
sense.
you something, you're like, oh, that's nice. And like when you think of it, you're like, oh, I could give this to them, but they're not even really enjoy it.
Yeah. There's also the part where the lady with the black collar.
Yeah, that's her name. Don't wear it out.
Yeah. When she breaks out the liquor, leads to one of my favorite tropes in classic Japanese movies, which is the drinking sing along.
Yeah, I really do like the drinking sing along scene.
Yeah, the song ends up being a little more of like a chant in this one, but I always enjoy those parts in old Japanese movies where whenever people are drinking, they either recite poetry or just have a sing-along song.
Yeah, there's always like a scene like that in Ozu.
Yeah.
They're always like, it's always a bunch of older people sitting around drinking, and then one of them just starts singing. Makes me want to sing.
Yeah, it's like a bit of camaraderie that I guess must have got replaced by karaoke and jukeboxes as time went on. But yeah, those are always enjoyable. I think one of the things that's unusual about this movie for me is that the title character, the bus driver, seems like a very obvious role model archetype that can kind of do no wrong in the story, which is something that would normally seem cheesy and annoying to me. But I think Shimizu is able to pull off,
Yeah, he's not perfect.
Yeah.
He continuously says the wrong thing, always talking about how bad it is to get sent down the pass and how girls are constantly going down the pass, not making it back.
Yeah.
And how he should drive a hearse instead of a bus. And this poor girl's going to be sold, and she's listening to this guy
That's true.
carry on about how bad it is. So, he's not perfect, and I think that gives him more of the impression of a man trying his best and a man who wants to do good.
That's a good
than
point.
Just a man who is perfect.
Yeah, it's not that he can do no wrong, it's that he
wants to do well.
Even when he's being clumsy about it, he's people can tell his heart's usually in the right place, and even things that he expresses that I wouldn't agree with would probably have been seen as manly at the time. When he makes fun of the men in movies.
I really liked the smoking scene where the woman in the black collar was blowing the smoke rings. I thought that was really well filmed and kind of soothing to watch.
And the man in the mustache wants to try it himself, but doesn't he get off the bus to do it because he doesn't want her looking at him.
Yeah, he gets off.
Yeah, it was also funny to me that people smoke on his bus, but the bus driver is like, oh, I'll only smoke when we're pulled over. I guess, I don't know, is he wearing driving gloves or something? Why would you care about having a cigarette in your mouth while you're driving? Maybe he just thinks it's rude.
I think he smokes in the bus, but he just doesn't smoke while driving.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it seems like something I'm so used to smokers doing at the same time that it seems odd to me that he does that. When people are just hanging on to the bus, are they riding for free?
Yeah, I couldn't get a real good sense of what that was. If it was hitching a ride or sanctioned cheaper seats or something. But he didn't seem to really mind. He half-heartedly did that, like, oh, I'm gonna walk back there, walk, but by the time he made it back there, they were gone.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if that's just a thing people do, or if that's a thing that we're supposed to take that he's another showcase of his sympathy for those less fortunate, but that he doesn't do much about the people that cling to the back of the bus, or if that's just something that people did, because like you see that a lot in film from like India and really packed population dense areas where people would just cling to the outside of a bus or a streetcar or something. Yeah, curious. Do you think at the beginning when he's having his lie down and cigarette and the old lady is giving out snacks, is she just a busybody, or is this just like a sort of bus stop experience that was part of the process at the time? Like, it seems like, bus stops weren't just a bench and a sign back then,
Yeah, like they were like little depots.
Yeah. So like maybe getting served snacks and tea was just part of the process back then, or maybe this is just a lady that needs somebody to talk to.
Or maybe she just set up by the bus stop to make a little extra money.
Yeah, like maybe it's a small cafe. It just happens to be by where people get on the bus. Yeah. I don't know, more stuff that's interesting as an outsider to think about.
Yeah. I thought that the woman in black collar, I thought that for a 76 movie, she had a wildly complex. Like, I felt a lot of different things about her in 76.
The connection kept losing the word minutes from what Joe was saying. He was talking about the length of the movie, not the year. 76 minutes.
Like, she rubbed this person the wrong way, but she had good intentions about this, but she treated them kind of rude, but then she treated these people nice. She seemed to be very complex.
Yeah. And also, like, she starts the movie seeming like she's here to flirt with the bus driver, and then eventually gives in to her sympathy for the girl at the back. But she seems jealous of her at first. When the girl from the back comes up to talk to the bus driver, she kind of snipes at her a bit at the beginning, but warms up to her as the bus ride goes on and she learns more about it.
Yeah, she seems like she's not good or evil. She's just a person with her own things going.
Yeah.
Like, of course she flirts with the cute bus driver, but maybe she just flirts with everybody and she has her own shit going on at home. And she's just kind of like, well, I'm going to talk to anybody no matter what, and I'm going to treat them how they deserve to be treated at any given.
Yeah.
She's definitely not her.
Yeah, she's not just the lady that teases the guy with the mustache. She's got her own inner world going on. Yeah. She definitely is the standout character, I think, even though she's not the main character.
There was that part where the guy says that riding with a man going to a wake is bad luck, so he gets off and walks.
Yeah, but then the guy...
Depending on how you look at it, having to walk is the bad luck. That is the bad luck, is getting off the bus.
But also, like, he gets off because of what the guy said before him, but that guy already got off the bus. So, like, you're making it pointless for the first guy to have left by getting off now. You should have just...
Yeah, but now he's trying to save everybody else the bad luck.
I guess. But, like, it seemed like the only guy who was really worked up about it was that first guy. Like, first guy could have just asked him to get up if that was the big deal. I don't know. I just think it's funny.
Yeah. Like, someone did make a comment about how people in the country are so observant of duty. How maybe that is the reason they live long.
You ever seen Hidden Fortress?
Yeah, I like Hidden Fortress.
Yeah. I don't know, the scene where they pass the people carrying the faggots, the stick bundles, reminds me of that movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that's just how it started with the two squabbling characters carrying sticks, or I'm just thinking about this thing at the end where the stuff is hidden inside the sticks. But anyway, it kind of reminds me of that. Also similar, like, countryside scenery in both movies.
Yeah, like more like the people of the land.
Yeah.
Where Japanese movies tend to be more people in cities.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of Tokyo movies, less Kansai movies or Hokkaido movies or whatever. But they're out there.
thought parts of his style it feels very modern, and then parts of it definitely harken back to his like silent ways. Like the camera is very mobile and very kind of like swooping and taking things in kind of like a sweet and very modern kind of movement. Whereas like his cuts kind of fade out and then fade back in, kind of like how silent cuts. I kind of like that marriage of the old and new and faded, the reverential.
Yeah, he's like a transition director between big silent movie hits and the oncoming new talkie generation. He was definitely a popular director at the time, and if you search his name, you get like Mizoguchi and Ozu praising him. Like Mizoguchi says something like, Ozu and I can make great art, but we have to really work hard, and Shimizu makes it seem effortless.
Yeah, you can definitely tell like Mizoguchi is a fan because the sweeping camera movements, like the way he's keeping things in frame while he moves the camera in such a very specific way. Yeah, I'd seen a lot of Mizoguchi before I had seen any Shimizu, so it was nice to kind of see where Mizoguchi got some of his style. What he was influenced by.
And there's also definitely some overlap between Ozu's career and Shimizu. I think they work for the same studio most of the time, right? Sochiku or something.
I think so. Yeah, Sochiku.
Like there's at least one movie they worked on together, but it's my least favorite Ozu movie, so that's I graduated, but ... And that one is not fully extant, and what survives is awful. It's my least favorite Ozu movie.
Oh gosh.
But they definitely used some of the same stable of actors and worked with some of the same writers pretty often. So, if you're developing a taste for one or the other, you'll probably like the other's work, at least something about it, even though they have a very different visual style from each other, Ozu and Shimizu. But they tend to gravitate towards very personal, small-scale drama, getting across these small emotional stories.
I feel like at least from what I've seen of Shimizu, I've seen almost all of those. I feel like Shimizu focuses a lot more on like the town and the society, and it's really more on the familial and what happens in the home.
That's a good point.
And Shimizu's what happens in the village.
Yeah, it's a different sphere, the public versus the private. I hadn't thought of that.
But they both do kind of deal with the same themes of times are changing.
Yeah, you wouldn't
how the old interacts with the new, vice versa.
You don't expect like a fight to break out in either director's movies at any time.
No, and they won't.
So, if anybody out there is thinking this stuff is really comfy, then you'll enjoy watching more from either director. But if you're getting bored with the sitting around and talking movies I've been picking, we'll get a break from that soon. Very like comfort food directors, both of them for me,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a blanket.
Warm blanket, indeed. Made of film, made of celluloid.
Yes, I love a nice warm film blanket.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to mention?
I don't know, the movie, I really loved it. Like, I watched it 3 times. I liked it just as much the first time.
Yeah.
It's simple, but it's not boring. It's kind of just like a nice tale.
Yeah, and it's fun to, both take in, like, as a artifact of a time and culture that we're not familiar with, and also as, like, a movie just based on this one set piece for the whole thing, a very, like, self-contained project. Like the classical unity of a place, but the place is moving across many places.
Yeah. Like it's a chamber piece, but the chamber is on.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you have any sympathy for the mustache man, or do you feel like he gets what he deserves?
I mean, nothing that terrible happens to the mustache.
Yeah, he just has a bad day.
Yeah. I mean, and as far as bad days go, that's fine. He's gonna forget about it tomorrow.
Yeah. Also, he's kind of not fleshed out enough to really be that sympathetic for.
Yeah.
He's just kind of there to be full of himself and then get shot down.
Yeah.
If you were on the bus, would you get frustrated that it keeps stopping? No.
No, I feel like that's what buses do.
That's true. That is, he's got no right to complain. And they don't miss their train at the end or anything. The people that are going to catch a train.
And like the bus runs on the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not so much like you gotta get point A to point B the fastest.
Yeah.
And he's known by every single person as Mr. Thank You. Everybody knows this guy.
Mhm.
He's the most popular bus driver I've ever.
Yeah, it is.
So he's obviously good at his job. You don't have to hassle him to get you where you're going.
Yeah. That even kind of gets a little much by the end, right? That, like, this guy just happens to drive his bus through your town, but so many people in every stretch of the story knows him by reputation. But I suppose if you did hear somebody...
You don't have movie stars if you live out in the mountains.
A lot more people...
They don't have... TVs aren't a thing yet.
A lot more people, like, walking and working outside than there would be nowadays. So if somebody, like, on your way home from work every day would honk and say thank you at you, you'd get used to him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can pull this train into the depot at this point. Or not train, the bus. I was trying to make a bus pun and I messed it up.
Well, the end of this bus ride movie's over. It's time to land the plane. But like honestly, 10 out of 10 movie. I'll probably watch it again and again.
Hey, have you noticed in like Japanese movies, there's never anybody, or at least it seems to me, there doesn't ever seem to really be anybody at the beach. I know it's like wartime and the Depression and stuff, but there's so many empty coastlines in these movies where you think all this prime real estate would be a little more availed of. I don't know. Maybe
I bet the time that the water is comfortable to go swimming in is pretty short.
Oh, okay.
Because like Japan isn't that far south.
That's true.
Japan's like really far up there.
Yeah. Somewhat recently watched Hanagatami from the guy that directed Houseu.
Yeah, Obayashi.
Yeah.
I love Obayashi.
And that has a lot of beach stuff going on. They do swim in the beach there, but it's kind of presented as something unusual. So yeah, maybe the water's cold.
It's like the Pacific Ocean vibe.
Had you seen it before I picked it, Mr. Thank You? Or
no.
Okay.
I had watched The Ornamental Hair and The Masseurs and The Woman when you had told me about these. I'm going to say over the summer, maybe around, May.
Yeah,
or
that
so
sounds
you told me about it. And Mr. Thank You was the one I didn't watch. But after I watched Mr. Thank You, I went back and watched Japanese Girls at the Harbor after seeing Mr. Thank You. That was the last I'd seen, and that one was my favorite.
Yeah.
I saved the best for last.
Yeah, that is a good one. If anyone's into silent movies, check it out. It's very melodramatic, but it's a story well told and well shot, and some neat editing techniques and stuff in there.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, true.
And I think that was the best looking on Criterion's channel. I think that's the one that probably has most recently received DLC in the restoration.
Oh, could be. Yeah.
Looked very nice. Very well preserved, which is unusual for Japanese.
True. Yeah. Unusual for, I think, most stuff made back then. There was no plan in place that films had to be preserved. They were thought of as disposable,
Germany seemed to have done a good job of saving their silent films. They have a Fritz Lang collection and they're pristine.
Yeah. And isn't that a little weird in that these are filmmakers that and a lot of them had ended up having to leave Germany, but yet we still have so much of their work. I don't know if that's because the filmmakers themselves pushed for them to be saved, or that the writing on the wall was obvious enough that fans knew they needed to be looked after. But it's definitely not something that the state was going to do. Yeah, and I wonder how hard it was for filmmakers during the war to do what they wanted to do without censorship. But yeah, this is definitely a movie that I realized upon rewatching had much more of a mixed emotional tone than I originally thought. I thought it was a fun, jaunty, let's take a road trip movie the first time I saw it, even though I knew it was showing a lot of the effects of the Depression. But like I said with the Korean girl in the movie, there's a lot more of a cloud hanging over it than just the girl in the back.
Yeah, like everybody in this movie is going through at least some form of hard time.
True, yeah.
But, I think it goes to show you that even in the hard times, you can have some good.
Yeah.
You are not the state of your country, and you are not your situation. Yeah. You are not your status. You are what you want to be. You can have as much fun as you want.
Yeah. That's something that's kind of like relevant at this time. I think we're hearing a lot at the time of recording about the situation in the Levant, the Middle East. And I think people, the way I'm hearing it, it's upsetting to me to hear people lumped in with Hamas,
Yeah.
If someone expresses that they feel bad for the Palestinian people in this situation, they're not saying Hamas was right to bomb people or anything like that. In the same way, if we're talking about Japanese movies made in this time where the government was definitely doing things we wouldn't approve of, you got to have empathy for the common man in any country.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, side tangent about politics over. Anybody who was ready to turn us off for that, that's done. Any final thoughts? Or
no, that pretty much gave all my thoughts. I thought it was a lovely movie. I really enjoyed it and enjoyed all of Shimizu's work, and I think it's a shame that there's not as much available he has in his filmography. I feel like 4 movies is a very small amount considering how prolific he kind of was. And, I would be down to watch hours and hours of this schedule.
I think he's got enough of an output that's held in high esteem in his home country that we can expect more English language releases in the future at some point, Yeah,
I'd love a box.
What you got for us next, Joe?
So up next we have Joseph Losey's 1976 classic Mr. Klein, or Monsieur Klein, starring the great Alain Delon. And Jean Moreau. Really great movie.
If you got Criterion for this movie we just talked about or previous ones, you'll find Mr. Klein on there too. So that's where I would suggest going for it. Yeah, it's in French, so
if I have to guess, I think it's going to be a long episode.
Okay, there you go. So if you felt this was a meager offering, stay tuned for the next one. It is in French, so make sure your copy has subtitles if you don't speak French. Criterions, of course, will have it. And au revoir, sayonara, Johnny.
And goodbye.